What was the teacher's action as she was monitoring the room, the classroom?
Right. So I took down some notes as I was watching the video, and what I noticed was that she had on her clipboard what I'm assuming is like an aggressive monitoring list, maybe with the students' names on it. She also had what appeared to be like an exemplar of the work already done in her hand as she's walking around. And I also noticed that she gave immediate real-time feedback, and she also prompted the students through the time to kind of keep them moving and letting them know that in so many minutes, this is where you need to be.
Right. She provided real-time feedback.
Yes.
With probing questions.
Yes.
That's true. What did you notice about what the students were doing?
So the students were working independently, quietly, but they were also receiving the feedback. So as the teacher gave the immediate feedback to them, they also in real time went back to correct it as well.
Yes, without any interruptions to another student, right?
Correct.
She did not stop anyone.
No.
So just the students who was receiving the feedback.
Yeah, and it was just kind of like a quiet one-on-one whisper into the ear, just something so the two of them could hear.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. That's important. So, I want you to give you 1 minute to think about what you see in the video and what happened in your classroom during my visit.
Yes.
So I'm just going to give you some time to put your thoughts and write down what the gap or what you see, what the difference was.
Okay.
What it comes to your mind. You ready?
I believe I'm ready.
All right. That's okay. That's why I'm here, to
Okay.
help you with it.
Thank you so much.
So, have you identified the gap between the video and what happened in your class today?
I have.
All right. Can you tell me a little bit about it?
Well, there was a lot of things that I did not do in the room after I saw the video, and I was able to see that gap. And some of the notes that I took was that I noticed the teacher in the video seemed to be walking in a path, whereas I really didn't have any organization in the way that I was walking during my aggressive monitoring. I now know that I need to start with my tier 1 and tier 2 students first.
Right.
If I'm starting to see that the majority of them are having problems on my aggressive monitoring walk, that is when I should go back and pull maybe or do a reteach.
Right. Right.
But if my tier 1s and my tier 2s are doing really good with the lesson, then I move on to my tier 3s. And then after that, I can move on with my demonstration of learning. And then those students that I saw during my aggressive monitoring that were struggling, I could pull for a small group.
Right. Correct. And you know, at any given lab, if you see that in lab 1, the tier 1 students or tier 2 students or the majority of the students are not answering correctly, that's a warning for stop and go reteach.
Okay.
Right? But
Yes.
if they not, you can continue with the second lab and so on and so forth.
Okay.
Yes. Right. So, also, there is another detail. Today in your class, you did not carry your checklist with you and your exemplar.
That's
correct?
right. That's correct.
Something that I identified that I saw and observed.
Yes.
So I think that's another important piece of the aggressive monitoring.
Absolutely. That is right. When you came in today, I did not have my exemplar with me or the checklist, but after seeing the video, I now see how important that is for the growth of my students.
Yes, definitely. Awesome. So are there, we can say that the aggressive monitoring gap is to, one, have the aggressive monitoring checklist on hand when you do your labs.
Okay.
Two, announce the labs before starting walking and checking the students' work.
Okay.
Three, have your exemplar ready before and on hand for any reference.
Okay.
And four, have a walking path.
Okay.
Starting with your tier 1 students, continue with your tier 2 students, and finally going to your tier 3 students.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes.
Perfect. So, I would like you to, tell me if there is any challenges you expect to encounter when you implement aggressive monitoring.
Now that I'm thinking about some of the challenges that I might have, one challenge that really stands out to me is completing all the labs within 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that might be a challenge, that I might not be able to get through all 4 labs.
Right, correct. But I don't know if you noticed, the video was about 3.5 to 4 minutes, and she completed 4 labs.
Okay.
She might didn't go to all the tier 1 students, but she went to the students who needed mostly the feedback, and she just gave a very fast check mark to the students who were correct. So that is going to help you going faster through the labs.
Okay.
You don't always have to do any feedback if they don't need the feedback.
So I took notes, and I noticed that on the video she did say you'll get a check if it's correct, and then a dot, which meant that it was not correct. So I couldn't see how that would make it faster.
Right, and then you pause the signs on the wall so the students can refer, what did I get a dot? What did I get a check mark? Let me see, she put a check mark, what that means. And as you use it every day in your classroom, it's going to get easier. The students are going to get used to the marks or the signs, and it's going to be faster for you.
Yes.
And I'm going to recommend that if you, for any reasons, you don't have at the beginning enough time during the independent practice, stretch your aggressive monitoring through the DOL.
Okay.
So that will be also a great time to ensure the students are doing the work that you expect or your expectations.
Yes.
Okay. So, how can you optimize the time when walking the labs? According to what we just talked.
Yeah. So, for me and my learning environment, I think the best way for me to optimize the time is to create a walking path that would allow me to check for my tier 1 and tier 2 students first. And then also, if I came up with some type of aggressive monitoring like rubric that, I don't know if rubric is the right word, but like if I'm going to use a check, they know that the check means you got the problem right. And if I'm going to use a dot, that means that maybe it's not right. So having that posted in the room while I went around on my labs would also make it a lot faster.
Yes.
As well.
Definitely. Awesome. So another important point, why do you think it's important to have a teacher exemplar on hand?
Well, I'm thinking back to the lesson when you came in to observe me, and I remember that a student had a question they wanted to know if it was right, and I had to work it out to see. But I can see the benefit of having an exemplar because the work is already done beforehand, right? It's easier when I'm walking around to aggressively monitor just to check my exemplar. Also, it helps me internalize the lesson.
That's important. That's the principal reason.
Right. It helps me internalize the lesson so that I feel more comfortable and confident when I'm in presenting the lesson to my scholars.
Correct. Amazing answer. That's actually what I was expecting you to hear from you.
Okay,
Definitely. So, what do you think is going to be the impact and the students' learning and their instruction as well when you implement this aggressive monitoring?
Well, once again, I'm reflecting on the lesson that you observed, and I can see a great impact towards the student, positive impact. One that comes to mind right off the top is the immediate feedback that I'm able to provide the students so that they don't have to wait for me to take my papers home and grade it. They're getting immediate feedback on where the misconception is, and they can correct that immediately before they move on any further. Also, it allows me an opportunity to know who I need to see for my small groups, right?
Create your small groups, correct.
Based on my lapse from my aggressive monitoring.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's really important. The exemplar also will help you, as you say, internalize the lesson. So when you answer your exemplar, before you even deliver the instruction, you're going to see, oh, this is the right way to teach it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important to say, okay, what I taught is what I expect to see in my students' work.
Yeah.
So
and may I add one more thing, Ms. Patterson, from my notes? I noticed that during her aggressive lapse, that she did use a lot of the positive narration.
Correct.
She stated, nice job and good job using your shorthand. I also think that allowed the kids to be able to get through that independent work because they're being motivated in a positive way.
Correct.
So
and that's what we want.
Yes.
We want these students motivated in an everyday basis.
Okay.
Yes.